Today is Friday, May 15th. This is our read aloud for Out of My Mind. We just found out that the flight that Melody and her family were supposed to be on to Washington, D.C. was canceled due to inclement or bad weather. And they didn't know. Snow? Mom's voice sounds thick, but the weather here is sunny and clear. Ma'am, they've got 5 inches on the ground in Boston already, and more is predicted for this afternoon farther south. The FAA won't let planes take off in weather like that, so our whole system gets gummed up. Planes due to arrive here and then return eastward get canceled, meaning our afternoon flights can't depart. It's complicated. Sorry. The desk agent continues to type rapidly. She tells Mom, I can get you and your daughter on the next direct flight out, however. It leaves here at 7:23 p.m., and you will get into Washington at 9:07. The Weather Service has predicted that the storm system will have fizzled by then, so we can start getting folks where they need to be. Actually, tomorrow it will all be rain. My heart is thudding now. Would you like me to rebook you now? She smiles cheerfully. She doesn't get it. But the competition starts at 7, Mom mumbles weakly. Excuse me? I didn't hear you, the desk agent says. I can't breathe. Mom speaks a little louder. What about the rest of our group? We're traveling together, a group of school children, quiz team actually, who were also booked on this flight. We've got a competition this evening. Oh, I remember those kids. They were here early this morning. Great group. So polite and well-mannered. They told me all about the competition and a huge trophy they might be bringing home. They came early? Mom croaks. It seems they all went to breakfast together, then came straight here. It's a good thing they did too, or they wouldn't have gotten out. Where are they? Mom asks. Oh, they got switched to the 9 o'clock flight, the last eastbound plane to get out before the flights started getting canceled. They had to run down to the gate. But they made it just in time. I made sure of it. She looks down at her computer. Yes, that flight left about an hour ago. They're gone? Mom whispers. I feel like I'm going to choke. Are you and your family going to DC to cheer them on? The woman asks. She still doesn't get it. No, my daughter is on the team, Mom explains. We must get to Washington. Isn't there another flight, perhaps on another airline? The woman looks at me and blinks. She's on the... She starts to ask, but then she catches herself, returns her gaze to her monitor, and begins typing furiously once more. I can hear her fingernails as they click on the keys. Dad places both hands on the ticket counter and leans in toward the agent. I've never seen him so angry. How could this happen? Shouldn't we have been notified that the flight was canceled? We try, sir, but it's not always possible, the lady replies, sounding truly sorry. We do always advise passengers to call ahead and check their flight status. But this was a trip of a lifetime. You can't possibly understand how important this is to my daughter. I squeeze my eyes shut. Stupid elevator music floats from the tinny airport speakers. I hear no beautiful colors. I smell no lovely aromas. All I can see is the darkness behind my eyeballs. I'm really, really, really sorry, sir, the lady says. What about a connecting flight? We must get her to Washington this afternoon. The woman types and clicks for what seems like hours. Finally, she looks up. There are no other flights to DC on any other carrier, sir, non-stop or otherwise. That weather system has grounded everything. There will be nothing until later this evening. I'm so sorry, she whispers. I open my eyes because they are filling with tears. Dad walks away from the ticket counter, his face scrunched into tight wrinkles. Then, without warning, he smashes his fist into the wall right next to where I'm sitting. I jerk my head up. I know that had to hurt. Ah! I shouldn't have done that, he admits, holding one fist in the other. But if I could have smashed my fist against a wall, I would have as well. Mrs. V looks from Dad to me. I don't understand how this could have happened either, she says to Mom. Shouldn't someone from the quiz team have called you? Her voice could crush bricks. The teacher, perhaps? Maybe there wasn't time, Mom says helplessly. At least that's what I hope. Surely they, surely they wouldn't have left her behind on purpose. I still have not taken one deep breath. I really do apologize, ma'am, the gate agent finally says. I've even checked airports in nearby cities. There are no flights out of the area until this evening. I have plenty of seats on our 7 o'clock flight if you'd like me to book you. No, thank you, Mom says quietly. It's too late. The entire airport feels like a vacuum to me. No sound, no voices, no air. Mom walks slowly toward me. I sit there in my new blue and white outfit with new matching tennis shoes next to my new shiny red suitcase, feeling very, very dumb. And angry. How could they do this to me? And helpless. I hate feeling like this, like when I was little and got stuck on my back like a turtle. There was nothing I could do, nothing. How long does it take to drive to DC? Mrs. V asks. I don't even look up. I know the answer. 10 hours at the very least, Dad replies, his voice soft. Go fly airplane? Penny asks. No fly today, Dad says, touching her gently on her head with his good hand. Mom rolls me over to a bench on the other side of the check-in area. She kneels down in front of me. She's crying. I don't think I'll ever breathe again. Mom hugs me. It's gonna be okay, sweetie. You're still the best, the smartest, the most wonderful girl in the world. Somehow we're going to get over this. No, I won't. Mrs. V wipes her eyes as well. She sits on the bench and takes both my hands in hers. Oh, baby girl, I know this is hard, but there's just no other way to get you to Washington. I just sit there. The morning started out like crystal, but the day has turned to broken glass. Chapter 29. When we get home, I ask my mother to put me in bed. I refuse to eat lunch. I try to sleep, but quiz questions and why questions keep flying into my head. Why didn't they call me? Why didn't they tell me about breakfast? Why can't I be like everyone else? I finally cry into my pillow. Butterscotch nudges me with her nose, but I ignore her. They left me on purpose. How could they do that? They left me on purpose. I feel like stomping on something, stomping and stomping and stomping. That makes me even crazier because I can't even do that. I can't even get mad like a normal kid. Penny peeks into my room then. When she sees I'm awake, she climbs up on my bed and snuggles close to me. She smells like watermelon bubble bath. She tries to count my fingers, then tries to count her own, but all she knows is 1, 2, 3, 5, so she says that over and over. Then she tries to teach Doodle to count. 2, Doodle, 2. I feel myself relaxing a tiny bit. Oh, here you are, Penny, Dad says from my doorway. Are you making Dee Dee happy? Dee Dee good girl, she tells Dad. Yes, she is that, the very best, Dad agrees. You okay, Melody? He asks as he comes over to stroke my hair. I nod. I point to Dad's left wrist, which is wrapped in an ace bandage. Yeah, it hurts, he says. That was a dumb thing to do, but I guess it made me feel better. I nod again. He lifts Penny from my bed with his right arm. Ready for a snack, Miss Penny? He asks her. Hot dogs, she demands. Do you want me to fix you something, Melody? He asks me. I'm not hungry. I shake my head, then point to the clock. Maybe later, Dad says. I smile at him, and he quietly leaves the room with my sister. Then the phone rings.